Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to yet another session of Weekend Conversations. This is Nitin Sridhar, Chief Curator of Advaita Academy, and today we have a special guest, Srinath Vellore ji. Very warm welcome to you, sir, for coming on our session.
Thank you, Nitin, and thank you, Advaita Academy. And
Yeah,
glad to be here.
yeah, great. Before we begin, I just want to start with a small prayer.
Mhm.
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. Uh, Before we move forward with today's conversation, I just want to give a very brief introduction to uh, Srinath Vellore. He is basically professional. He is a corporate training consultant, listening with the HR department, typically for an IT company, for all their training needs and requirements. So he runs his own company and is currently based in Hyderabad. And on the spiritual side, he has been in the path of sadhana, in the path of spiritual seeking for the past 25 years, and he has been associated with a very wide range of sampradayas from ISKCON, Osho to Devi and Dattatreya lineage, so on and so forth. And his introduction to Vedanta, and we will speak more about this during today's session. It happened, I think, in 2013, and he has traditionally studied Vedanta under Swami Tattvavidananda ji and Swami Labdhavananda ji, direct disciples of Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji of Arsha Vidya Gurukulam. So, with this very brief introduction, I once again welcome you, Srinathji, and thank
Thank
you
you.
for coming on our show. So now, without further ado, let me jump in to the first question.
Mhm.
As I just noted, for the sake of our viewers, that you have been into spirituality, exploring spirituality for the last more than 2 decades, around 25 years.
Right.
So let us begin with the very starting.
Uh-huh.
Tell us about how does this spiritual journey, start for you? How did your
Um,
introduction to spirituality happen? When did it happen? Who were your
right.
early influences?
Yeah. Mostly, it started during my engineering. I was doing my engineering, and in second year, I got introduced to Osho. Okay, so in my second year of engineering, I was listening to a cassette of Osho, and I don't know what happened. And as I was listening to it, it just took me really deep inside, and I don't know what really happened. So, it was like a slow, melodious voice, very rhythmic, and I don't know what happened. I just went directly inside. So that was my first, touch with spirituality. And later, but I was really uh, you know because of his reputation as being a sex guru and all that, so I was kind of intimidated by that as well, so I didn't really go to Pune. And I was that was my first brush with spirituality. Later after that, I started exploring the Hare Krishna movement and ISKCON. And I was closely associated with the ISKCON temple in Secunderabad, and then later in the ISKCON temple in Los Angeles, USA. Okay, so that was I had spent one whole year in ISKCON USA. So,
Okay.
and so there, I was doing all kinds of seva and this and that, and kind of, that was exactly contra to what Osho was saying. Osho was like, everything is interconnected and everything is one. And then there's this other view, the Advaita view of ISKCON, everything is separate and there's a supreme Lord and you know, Krishna and all that. So I was trying to reconcile both of these views, and later then I started exploring this Guru Tattva and then Dattatreya line and, Guru Charitra, reading all that. And then later a little bit of yogic exposure, not much, not really much. And then, but nothing was really satisfying, nothing was really, gelling, so then, the search was continuing, it was just going on, and like, I'm not getting complete satisfaction in any one line. So then finally exploring, I ended up landing in Advaita Vedanta, Adi Shankara philosophy through videos of Swami Tattvedanandaji. And that was my first brush in 2013. And
So,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to know
Mhm,
uh, that you mentioned about all these different influences from Osho and ISKCON and Dattatreya lineage. So,
mhm.
did you study them under a teacher, or did you explore them on your own by, say,
Uh,
reading books, listening to audio lectures, and all?
mhm. Uh, in Osho, Osho was the teacher, so that was, I read kind of like 200 out of the 600 books. So I was like, really deep into it. So, and then, I was also attending the Osho Center in Secunderabad, in Bashir Bagh in Hyderabad. So there used to be a couple of teachers. So they're not really like one particular teacher, just general, yeah. And then in ISKCON I was with Subhak Swami Maharaj. He is a sannyasi of Srila Prabhupada, so Bengali, and I was closely, in association with him.
I mean,
uh,
you went to Bengal where he stayed and you
right.
studied there? Okay.
Right. Yes. I mean, I was not like full time in Bengal with him in Mayapur. I was visiting on and off, and he would also visit, uh, a village here in Nizamabad, at Dharpalli. So he would come sometimes. Mostly I would be going, of course. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah.
And the Dattatreya lineage also, you had
Uh,
a teacher? No.
no. Just exploring, just my own interest, of Guru Tattva and all that. Yeah.
Wonderful. See, I can very much connect to the what you just said because somewhere my own journey started in a very similar way. Not same way, but somewhat similar in the sense of more of a self exploration, more of a reading on my
Exactly.
own, and I have read Osho as well
Right.
substantially in early years. I
Uh-huh.
don't know how. I don't like to listen much. I like to read more. So I don't know how many books I have read per se, but I have read
Right.
many of them.
Right.
and
Same here. Yeah.
yeah, and then I've read many others. Little bit here, little bit there. I like to call this,
Right.
yeah,
The
jack of
search.
all kind of approach.
Yeah. The search is going on. We are in the forest, right? We are trying to find the way out. Yeah.
Yes, true. So coming, flowing from this is the second question that you already, I think, started sharing about. How did your entry into Vedanta happen, and when did happen, and who were your teachers? I already know two of your teachers, but I want you to share more about
Yeah.
your journey here. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Um, Even though I was closely associated with ISKCON for more than like 15, 20 years, and I was reading the books and everything, and uh, it was not really satisfying to me personally. It's great that Krishna is the Lord and He's the supreme enjoyer and all that, but uh, it was not really answering what about me. Who am I? That question was totally kind of not ignored. Like, you're the dasa of the dasa. That is all great, but not really satisfying. Then yeah, so then listening, I was just exploring different videos on YouTube, and uh, found Swami Tattvedanandaji. So as soon as I found him, I was like, wow, this is totally revolutionary. Uh, uh, I think I was listening to Vivek Chudamani firstly, and then I was blown off like, okay, this is amazing. The whole thing was, you know, the the logical sequence was all falling in place, which was not there, in the other traditions. It was more like, mythical kind of a connection, not really a complete structured flow. So that was missing. So that was what got me into Advaita. And then I was very happy to know that Swami Tattvedanandaji is also in Hyderabad and actually right next to my house. I'm
Oh,
like, oh,
okay.
wow. Yeah.
And this
So
happened when?
I think 2013, I think so, 2013. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I wrote him a letter and he said, can I attend classes? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, come over. And this is the, Brahma Vidya Kutir is the ashram here. And he also takes classes in the Padma Rao Nagar Shivananda ashram. So I was attending both, uh, the classes. And then, yeah, almost not missing a single class. I was just attending everything. I was trying to sponging the whole thing, the whole teaching, And then I also visited the Arsha Vidya Gurukul in Coimbatore, and I had lucky to have darshan of Dayanand Saraswati Swamiji as well. So just a couple of days there, but it was great. It's really very happy there. Yeah, yeah, and yeah. Then in Hyderabad, I also came to know that there is this other Swamiji also of Dayanand Saraswati called Labdwanandaji. So Labdwanandaji is, in Alwal. He stays in Alwal. He has a small room, and so there it was more personal interaction with him because he didn't have like a big circle of disciples and all that. It was like more personal. I could sit with him and talk to him and ask questions, and I'm like, I've been listening to Advaita for like 2 3 years. I mean, this was around in 2016 or so.
Mhm.
And I understand the concepts all theoretical, and I get it, but there is no kind of an experiential thing. I'm not, I get the thing, in the head, but I'm not able to get it into my heart and into my life. It's not happening that, the disconnect is still there.
Mhm.
So, so I asked him, like, look, I'm doing all these readings and everything, I'm exploring, and I understand the whole thing theoretically and everything, but as such, I'm not having any real factual experience, anubhava of, what is Advaita. So he was like, he didn't really say anything. He was like, he just sat there and he just looked at me a couple of minutes, like, just looked in my eyes, like, and I was like, okay, it felt good, but it took me a couple of months, after that experience to suddenly, everything's clicked kind of a thing, So,
Okay.
and I don't know what happened really, but uh, then the kind of questions and everything, everything fell away. I don't know what happened really, but some kind of happiness inside. That's it, I can say. Yeah.
So, when you were studying with Tattvavidananda ji, I think
Mhm.
you said for 3 4 years you studied with him.
Right.
What kind of texts did you study? Did you study Brahma Sutra? Did you study
Mhm.
Bhashya? Did you study the Upanishad
Yeah.
Bhashya? Can you share more details?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly it was Bhagavad Gita in Shivananda Ashram.
Hmm.
And I think chapter 14 was going on, and I was there almost till chapter 18 ending. So yeah, that was Bhagavad Gita. In Brahma Vidya Kutir, in the other ashram where he takes, Monday, Friday, Wednesday. There we explored like different texts. Like, he was teaching um, uh, this, Brahma Sutras in the mornings on Saturdays, and on the weekdays he was teaching different texts, Brihadaranyaka, Upanishad, and a couple of, Viveka Chudamani, and some of these texts. So, yeah, it was like daily an hour and a half, so yeah, so these being taught there. Yeah. And that was when, the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, we got clarity on that. And yeah, then
Wonderful.
later I
Yeah.
came to Yelam Rajagaru. Yes.
Yes. So, can you share more about Yellam Rajagar, Srinivas Rao,
Yeah.
and you at our when we were talking before the session that you were mentioning that uh, you found his method of teaching Advaita to be extremely uh,
Practical.
completely different and very simple and useful.
Right.
So, can you share more light on your engagement with his works and his method of teaching and all those things?
Mhm. Yeah. Even though I've been listening to Advaita Vedanta, different teachers online, um, and everything was, falling into place. But, when I started listening to Yellam Garu, it was like, direct, it was like, um, most of the other teachers were like, um, kind of trying to get around Advaita, not directly hitting on the target, because we always have the Jiva Bhava, right? We are always, like, we take ourselves to be the Deha, so the body, and then, so, but his approach was like completely like, you're never the body kind of a thing. You're like always the Atman kind of an approach. His was like brutal, clarity in thought. So that was what was amazing. And I was like blown off by his way of teaching. Yeah.
Uh, I mean, does he adopt any special methodology in teaching
Oh,
Vedanta?
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
His approach is more or less he has a complete grip on the Mahavakyas. His focus is mostly on the Mahavakyas. I mean, his approach is, Mahavakya. He takes that and he tries to, just hits on that only. So basically, there are only two real problems actually with the Jagat. There is this Mithyatma problem and the Gaunatma problem. The Jiva, which is us, we take on a false identity, which is the Mithyatma, the false identity, that we are the Deha, the body, and the mind, Manas, and then the Prana. So this is our false identity that has been, you know, inbuilt in us since birth, since birth, since they give us a label when we are born, a name, they give me a name like Srinath, or, so I take myself to be Srinath, I adopted that identity, a label, and then I stick on with the label, and then I keep adding a lot of other labels. I am, engineer, and I'm a trainer, or I'm single, or I'm married, or so all these different labels keep getting stuck on you, right? And none of them are really you. So this is about the Mithyatma thing, the direct wrong identity of myself as the body. And then Gaunatma. In Gaunatma, what happens is we take on all these other paraphernalia that we are attached to, like, my wife, my children, my house, my religion, my caste, and all that. So that's all. It's the gunas that are added on to me, right? So these two are the main problems, that Advaita actually addresses. So if you can see through these two problems of false identity, the first Nithyatma, and then the Gaunatma, wherein you can see that, you just keep adding on a lot of other things that onto you, like you take on your wife's problems as your problems, you take on your children's problems as your problems, you take on your house business problems as your problems, none of them are really yours, that, but
Mhm.
you just pile on those onto yourself. Yeah.
The, the gist is ahankara and mamakara.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So the ahankara itself is wrongly built, and the mamakara is also wrongly built. So if you can see through those two, the ahankara and the mamakara, then you come to Swarupa directly.
So you're currently doing translation work of Yellam Rajugaru's lectures, right?
Right. Yes, I am. I am. That is my main interest right now. I am trying almost all the teachings of Yellam Raju Garu are in Telugu. Uh, so and they're also beautiful, completely beautiful. So I am trying to translate at least the core, the core lectures into English. Okay, so I am working on a couple of lectures of his, which I feel are very, very important. Mahavakya Vicharana is, a series of lectures that he has given that I'm trying to translate. I have kind of wrote down the whole thing. Now I need to, frame it and clean it and get it out.
So you're
And
publishing it as a book or something?
ideally, yes, but first I want to get it out online, and then later maybe, get it into a book form.
Hmm.
Basically, my interest is to try to convey this to the social media, via WhatsApp, or I'm not really active on Facebook. Mostly on WhatsApp, just sharing with my friends. Yes, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. My next question is, you were mentioning about um, how, despite listening to lot of lectures on Vedanta, there was
Mhm.
a period when there was a gap that you felt, and later, after your interaction with Swami Labdhavananda ji, and something clicked. That's to use your phrase.
Right.
So, uh, how do you perceive Vedanta now, and uh, how do you implement it in your day-to-day life? How has it changed your perspective, so to speak, in your corporate work, for example? So,
Mhm,
how does
mhm.
the perspective of Vedanta, basically, my question is, how does the perspective of Vedanta change how we approach the world, how we approach life, how we understand, perceive the life, and our interactions with the world. Yeah.
Uh, I can say that it changes you totally, completely. Advaita, it makes you connected with everything else at a granular atomic level. Uh, you don't feel any disconnection or pain when something that you expect to happen doesn't happen. When people behave differently, you are able to understand their point of view. You're able to see their perspective, and you can accept their view, even though it may be contra to what you expect, but you know from where they're coming. And so that's really beautiful. So what happens is everything becomes one integrated whole. It's not like, the divisions are all gone. You feel connected with all things, all beings, all material stuff, and everything becomes a one whole unit. So that's what's beautiful about Advaita. So even if you have a bad day in the office or something, you don't really get you don't really feel too bad about it. It's like, okay, I mean, this is how it is. So it's kind of a whole acceptance kind of a thing.
Mhm. Uh, but one of the questions I often receive, and I have asked these questions to other speakers as well, is
Mhm.
how to internalize the teachings of Vedanta, especially in day-to-day life. And I think that is what is the biggest challenge. I mean,
Right,
one can read hundreds of texts of Vedanta and
right.
still feel that it is all at the level of the mind, as you said, the intellect,
Mental.
and not
Yeah,
at the heart. So,
right.
what should one do to internalize these things?
Mhm.
What
Yeah,
are your advice?
the main problem, I was also having this, everybody has this problem, right? We read it, we understand it, and it's all in the mental level. It's all here, it's all in the head. It doesn't really come into the heart at all. Uh, I think we just have to do Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, like, 24 bar 7, which is very difficult. But that's the only way. There's no other way. Like, it has to be, every thought has to be examined. Every thought has to be examined as, okay, is this a Dvaita thing or is this an Advaita thing? So if it is an Advaita thing, there's no problem, you just, it's your natural thing. But then mostly everything is, half the time or more than half the time, is always, you know, you always take the body identity and operate, right? So that when you have that, that is when you, so the more time you spend with Shastra is better. I think there's no other shortcut.
Mm.
Mm, yeah.
So, we were discussing a while back about ISKCON versus Advaita. Uh, I want to have one more question on that.
Mm,
The ISKCON, basically Gaudiya Vaishnava, follows the
right.
philosophy of Achintya Veda Veda.
Right.
And when I was studying different philosophies, I think
Mhm.
in my student days, one way I could reconcile these different philosophies is with the example of fire.
Mhm.
The fire and the spark illustration.
Correct, correct,
The
correct.
Advaita says the spark are ultimately fire itself, so fire alone
Essentially,
exists.
it's fire only. Yes.
The Dvaita says that the spark is very different from fire, and ISKCON, which is Achintya Veda Veda, basically says that fire and spark are same as well as different, and this is something beyond conceivable. That is why Achintya.
Yeah, that's why
So,
it's called Achintya. Yes.
so in but I have not made any deep study of this
Right.
Achinta Veda Veda. So,
Yeah.
but you have. So, I want to pose this question to you.
Mhm.
Uh, do you find any uh, striking similarities and as well as striking differences between
Mhm.
Advaita Vedanta, Upanishad Vedanta, and the Achintya Veda Veda?
Uh, See, even though in Achintya Veda they say that the spark is the fire, but in a limited quantity. So it's just like Atma and Paramatma kind of a thing. The Atma is supposed to be a minuscule part, and the Paramatma is supposed to be the whole, right? Um, but actually, if you see, fire is fire. So even if it's a spark, or even if it is the whole burning fire, fire is just fire. You know, there is no essential thing of quantity. There is no component of small fire, big fire, right? So, uh, so that is what Advaita says, right? Everything is just Brahman. So, there is no like small Atma and a big Atma, Paramatma. That's all.
I think the Advaita uses the example of Ghatakasha and Mahakasha.
Mahakasha, exactly. Yeah. So there is Ghatakasha is always Mahakasha. It's the whole, right? It's just that in ignorance we take ourselves to be the Ghata Akash, right? Right. So yeah. So just if you drop that ignorance, then the spark becomes the fire.
Mhm. Are there any other notable differences or commonalities between the ISKCON
Mm,
philosophy and Advaita?
yeah. Yeah. See, when you say the spark is also fire, but in a minuscule, that I think is not gelling with me. Like fire is fire, right? Whether it's small fire or big fire, it's essentially fire. So they are always one. So, but they say the spark is different and the fire is different. I can't digest that. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So, I few months back, you did a presentation. I also attended on
Mhm.
where you shared about how you're working to communicate Advaita in a very simplified manner to the what you called I think mobile generation or smartphone generation.
Right. Yeah.
So who typically have a very limited attention
Attention.
span. And
Yeah.
can you tell us more about this work and uh,
Yeah.
what you
Uh,
want to do, what you currently
yeah.
doing? Yeah.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I tried to condense the teachings of Yellamraji Garu into smaller sections. Like maybe a 100, 200 word article, and then put it out on WhatsApps. On a daily post, kind of in the morning, with a lot of icons, so that they can easily relate to the concepts graphically rather than through words. Uh, so, using a lot of emoticons, small icons, I'm trying to convey the whole concept in a very, easily digestible format. So this exercise I've been doing, and I was able to, I at least feel, that I've been sending it out to maybe like 100 people or so, and at least 8 people have responded positively to that. So that I feel is a very big success ratio. Compared to if you just directly start teaching Advaita to the general public, they'll be like they'll direct outrightly reject it, right? They just can't even accept that this is even possible, right? So even if I can introduce it to like a small percentage of the populace, that itself I feel is a big success. Yeah.
How do you plan to do this? I mean, will it be just limited to sharing small posts on WhatsApp,
Uh,
or do you have a more
right.
comprehensive plan to take this forward?
Yeah, see, the essentially I was this was all just content building. I was just building content so that I'll have, I can filter it out and make it into a kind of a course wherein it'll be like a 30-day or 45-day course, of daily one post
Mhm,
out, so that at the end of the first week, they'll get a concept of what is mithyatma. Second week they'll get what is gaunatma. Third week they'll understand what is swarupa. Then fourth week they'll understand what is the mahavakyas. Fifth week, that kind of a structure wherein, I can get them from, I am Atma Brahman to Sarvam Kalvidam Brahman uh, to Prajnanam Brahman and then on to Aham Brahmasmi. So this is the format that, I ideally want to get out so that, and basically the structure I'm thinking about is, I still haven't built this platform, but I want a platform which can do this, wherein, if somebody has attended the first week of the 8-week session, and there's somebody at the second week or the fourth week. So the guys at the second or the fourth week can guide the guys at the week one, because the
mhm,
week one guys will be having thousands of questions, right? They don't have clarity. So, but if they have gone till like week 3 or 4 or 5, they can give better perspective as to, and guide the week one guys.
mhm,
That's the kind of approach I actually want to bring out. I don't know. We'll have to build this whole platform, which I don't have built, and it needs
mhm.
funding and all that. So, yeah,
Uh, uh, you mentioned about the use of emoticons, emojis, and all those things.
right,
See, I am personally not very much comfortable in reading many emojis, except for
right,
the very well-known ones. So, but
right,
I might be already, we might be already a older generation compared to the new generations coming up. So,
right.
how exactly? I mean, would you be using these emojis? And have you received any response to this? A positive response to use of
Uh,
emojis rather than text?
yeah, I personally feel the emojis are, uh, it directly gives you a pictorial view of what I'm trying to convey, a graphic view. So in a couple of graphics of couple of emojis, I'm able to get the concept out. So I because I want to reduce the amount of text I put out in the post. I want it to be shrunk to the minimum size that is possible. So this I can only do with the help of some graphics. So that's why I'm using a lot of emojis and trying to get the concept graphically rather than through text or words. So I know, initially, yeah, we don't like, mixing of emojis and text. Ideally, yeah, text is text, and then there is emojis.
No,
Yeah,
emojis also have a scope for misinterpretation, right? I mean, scope
exactly.
for miscommunication.
True, 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 true. I
I mean,
agree.
different
But
people may interpret it in a different way. So, how are you planning to overcome this?
Mhm. Maybe we can put out one video out front, wherein we'll say that, this icon means this icon means this, just like, um, at the end of the Sanskrit books, we have some, like, this word is pronounced like this, something like that. So, some reference if we can give.
Mhm.
So then they'll, okay, if I look at this icon, this is what it means, some kind of a guide. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, in the beginning, we should get that out. Yeah.
So you plan. I mean, basically, you're currently creating materials for this and plan to create a platform, an
Right.
online platform. Is it?
Yes, yes. An online course kind of a thing wherein,
Mhm.
self-guided, self-evaluation course of Advaita kind. That is what is the goal, you know. So, just put out the course. It's like an online thing, and anybody can enroll, and they can take it at their own pace. Daily they get a post, and then they can actually analyze it, and they'll come up with their questions. There should be a forum wherein they'll put out their questions, and then there'll be the other guys, at week 4 or 5, who can guide them. Okay, this is how, this question of yours is going to be answered. That kind of an approach is what I want to build. But yeah, it needs a lot of work and funding and building the whole platform. Something like some training platform has to be there. Yeah.
Mhm. And for generating the content, are you using Prashtanatha Bhasha itself, or are you using Yellam Garu's works or any other Prashtana, other
Uh,
Prakarana Granthas and all?
Mostly I'm using Yellam Garu's work because what I feel is the whole work of Yellam Raju is all built on Prasthanatraya itself. So, and he has condensed it at a much higher level. It's more like a zip file kind of a thing. Yellam Raja has got it down to a zip file. Now, this zip file, I'm trying to make it even shorter by this course that I'm planning to do. Yeah. So that, in a couple of minutes of reading, you should be able to get the concept. Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. I wish you luck on this
Yeah.
project.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful, fascinating thing, to communicate Vedanta through emojis.
Right. It is a difficult task, but
But it sounds cool. It sounds cool, and I think a lot of this new generation kids who
yeah, yeah.
would be attracted.
I just want to be able to introduce this beautiful Advaita to them. Yeah. Even if they get it, conceptually,
Mhm.
later, whenever they feel like, they can come back to that. Initially they'll be like, okay, this is what it is. They understand it theoretically, just like in a Gurukul or something. You get the concept, but then if you have to really get it, it takes a lot of sadhana, which you do later when, as and when you feel the need for it. Yeah.
So, do you practice any form of sadhana? What is your personal sadhana? Is it meditation? Is it a
Uh,
nididhyasa? Is it
uh,
yoga or a mixture of many things?
no, I tried a lot of these mantra meditation in ISKCON. It didn't really help much. Then a couple of not much of yoga. I tried, just meditating also a bit, but nothing was satisfactory to me because maybe I'm too intellectual or what, I don't know. So for me, the Jnana Marga is what has totally got me. So mostly contemplation, Nididhyasana, and Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. This is what does it for me. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we are almost towards the end of the session. I have one more question, and that would be, what would be your message to young people? I mean, I this is one question I like to ask all our viewers.
Right.
And if you have any advice to
Right.
youngsters who want to take up Adhyatma, who want to
Right.
take up Vedanta, how should
Yeah.
they start? How should they go about?
Uh, of course, Adi Shankara has already defined the whole thing, right? Uh, Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha, the whole, Shravana Manana, Nididhyasana, then Prasthanatraya, so this is the route, to Advaita. So that is the standard route. Only thing is, we are just trying to make it easy. That's all. That is our, you, me, or anybody, Advaita Academy, everybody is working on trying to make this as easily available or digestible to the populace, right? To the people, right? So this is the goal that we are all working on. So my approach is more social media kind of a course kind of a thing, a lot of minimum text, more emojis, kind of, a graphic kind of a thing. Yeah, this is my approach. Yeah, I think this kind of an approach is more intuitive to the social media, the teenage kind of a people, who are really not into too much of text and too much of contemplation. So, just give them small bits of the concept and then later maybe piece it all together, you know. Yeah, they will have to piece it together. Yeah,
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Srinath,
yeah.
for
Thank
sharing
you,
your thoughts
Nitinji.
with us,
Yeah,
sharing
yeah.
about the work you are doing. I'm
Mhm.
sure people would be fascinated to know more.
Yeah, yeah.
So, viewers, if you want to connect with Srinathji, you can write to us and we will share his email, etc. with you. With this, we come to a conclusion of yet another weekend conversation session. Today evening, we have Weekend with Wisdom with Dr. Niranjan Saha, who will be speaking on Bhakti in Advaita Vedanta. Please do not miss the session and join us. For more details, check our website and you can register for the same. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha.